Hello and welcome. Namaste from New Delhi. You're watching the News Hour on DD India. I'm Gautam Roy. Coming up over the next 1 hour. Australia stands with India in its fight against terrorism, says Australian Deputy Prime Minister and Minister for Defence Richard Marles during bilateral talks with Rajnath Singh in New Delhi. US and China engage in a war of words over the 36th anniversary of the Tiananmen Square crackdown. Beijing slams US Secretary of State for saying the world will never forget the brutal suppression of peaceful protesters. After months of turmoil, South Korea gets a new president. Liberal Lee Jae-myung is sworn in. Pledges to unify the nation as Prime Minister Narendra Modi congratulates him, expressing a desire to work together to strengthen ties. And 11 persons have been killed, 33 injured in a deadly stampede at Bengaluru's iconic Chinnaswamy Stadium. Prime Minister Narendra Modi condoles the loss of lives in this tragedy. Australia stands with India against terrorism. This is what Deputy Prime Minister of Australia Richard Marles said in his opening remarks during the bilateral meeting between the two defence ministers in New Delhi. India's Defence Minister Rajnath Singh also apprised his Australian counterpart about the challenges India is facing on its Western Front.
The Australian Deputy Prime Minister, who also holds the defence portfolio, was given a guard of honour at the Manekshaw Centre in Delhi on Wednesday. He was accompanied by the Defence Minister of India, Rajnath Singh. The two defence ministers are accompanied by the top military brass and officials of both countries. In his welcome address, Rajnath Singh said that India is facing extreme challenges on the Western Front in response to the dastardly attack in Pahalgam in Kashmir.
I wish to mention that this meeting is happening at a time when India is facing extreme challenges at our western border. And we have taken steps in response to barbaric incident in Kashmir. We thank Australia for its support on this issue. We shall be talking more about this later in the meeting.
The Australian Deputy Prime Minister expressed his solidarity with India against terrorism. Richard Marles, who also holds the defence portfolio, said that India and Australia are close partners in defence and maritime security.
We want to make clear that Australia stands with India and all countries in combating terrorism. We acknowledge and we welcome the stoppage in military activity. We see this as an act of Indian leadership. But we will continue to work with India as we combat terrorism in all its forms.
The Deputy Prime Minister of Australia, Richard Marles, is the first senior Australian minister to visit India after the Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese retained power for the second term. Marles's visit to India is part of a four-nation visit to South and Southeast Asia from June 2 to June 5 for high-level meetings. With Nandita Dagar, Vishal Barristow's report for DD India.
Earlier, Richard Marles visited National War Memorial and paid tributes to fallen heroes by laying a wreath at the memorial. Now, this visit coincides with the 5th anniversary of Australia and India's comprehensive strategic partnership, which underpins the relationship and shared vision for the Indian Ocean region. Defence and security are key pillars of the comprehensive strategic partnership, with both nations committed to peace, stability and a rules-based order in the Indo-Pacific. And the Australian Deputy PM also met Prime Minister Modi. Both the leaders held a productive discussion on deepening India-Australia Comprehensive Strategic Partnership, which marks its 5th anniversary. The India-Australia collaboration is guided by a shared vision for a stable, secure and prosperous Indo-Pacific. And as far as India's campaign against terrorism in Pakistan goes, It's been a strong diplomatic push really to rally international support against terrorism, where high-level Indian parliamentary delegations have been on a global outreach mission across the continents. These visits have come in the backdrop of Operation Sindoor and India's intensified campaign against Pakistan's cross-border terrorism. Take a look at this report.
As part of India's sustained international campaign against terrorism, an all-party parliamentary delegation led by Shashi Tharoor has arrived in Washington, D.C. Over the next 2 days, the team will engage with members of the US Congress, policymakers, think tanks and the media, briefing them on Operation Sindoor and India's firm stand against terrorism.
We have meetings set up with the entire range of public opinion in Washington. Think tanks who are very influential in Washington, particularly those focusing on foreign policy, media, and some public addresses.
In Brussels, the delegation led by senior MP Ravi Shankar Prasad is on a 2-day visit after wrapping up engagements in the United Kingdom. They were received by India's ambassador to Belgium and are set to hold a series of meetings to build global consensus on counter-terrorism. Meanwhile, delegations are returning after successful missions. MP Sanjay Kumar Jha and his team landed in Delhi after a multi-nation visit to Singapore, Japan, South Korea, Malaysia and Indonesia, where they held high-level meetings and engaged with the Indian diaspora.
ऑल पार्टी डेलीगेशन जाने से सरकार जो भेजी उसका एक बड़ा मैसेज सब जगह इन लोगों को ये जरूर आश्चर्य लगा कि पूरा देश इस इशू पर एक साथ है टेररिज्म के खिलाफ और सारे पार्टी के लोग एक वॉइस में बात कर रहे थे.
Similarly, MP Dr. Shrikant Shinde's delegation has wrapped up its 4-nation tour to the UAE, Liberia, the Democratic Republic of Congo and Sierra Leone, aimed at boosting bilateral ties and mobilizing global support.
One of its kind experience and also a responsibility which was put on this delegation to convey the message of peace and convey the message of zero tolerance against terrorism. We are very much successful in delivering this message. All the nations visited by all the delegations received a positive response and everyone is standing with India in this fight against terrorism.
And wrapping up their diplomatic outreach, a delegation led by Supriya Sule returned after visits to Egypt, Qatar, Ethiopia and South Africa. In Cairo, they met Egypt's Foreign Minister Dr. Badr Abdel Ati, who reaffirmed solidarity with India and commitment to deeper counter-terrorism cooperation. These coordinated diplomatic efforts mark a significant step in India's proactive global engagement, ensuring the world stands united in the fight against terrorism. With Bureau Inputs, Amish Mahajan's report for DD India.
And at the BRICS Ministerial Meeting on Information and Communication Technology, the group has unanimously decided to have cooperation in 4 strategic areas of connectivity, space sustainability, environmental sustainability and digital ecosystem governance. The meeting, held in Brasilia, had a strong Indian presence as the country was represented by Minister of State for Telecommunication, Dr. Pemasani Chandrasekhar. The minister spoke to DD India's Shobhan Saxena at the Indian Embassy in Brasilia before flying home on Tuesday.
We have with us Mr. Chandrasekhar Pemasani, Minister of State for Telecommunications and Rural Development, Government of India. He is in Brasilia to participate in the BRICS Telecommunications Conference. Sir, could you please tell us about the purpose of your visit and how was the visit?
So, we're part of BRICS nations when it comes to telecommunications. This year theme, there are 4 priorities, strategic priorities: environmental sustainability, satellite-based sustainability, and then meaningful connectivity, and digital ecosystem. These are the major themes. I'm mainly here to tell what India has achieved in all these 4 areas over the especially last 10 years, and also participate and learn what the rest of the world is doing so that we can take the telecom to the next level.
And how was that experience?
Experience has been quite good, and I am actually proud and to say that India has achieved what was unthinkable 10-15 years ago, and we have showcased all the things that we have done to the rest of the world, And there are certain things that I also learned from here. So all in all, a well-rounded conference.
So what is the message you're taking back to New Delhi from here?
So one of the themes is, while we have connected the entire country, meaningful connectivity has a different definition here. They are also including the quality of the service, the affordability, and there are other metrics that are being, even though we do that individually, we don't have a proper systematic framework. And that kind of meaningful connectivity framework is something we could implement.
Thank you so much, sir. Talking to DD India. Thanks a lot.
At the Global Platform for Disaster Risk Reduction 2025 in Geneva, Principal Secretary to Prime Minister Dr. P.K. Mishra and United Nations Deputy Secretary General Amina J. Mohammed explored enhanced cooperation mechanisms for disaster risk reduction. As global leaders convened at the World Resilient Recovery Conference, that's WRRC, to launch the priority actions to enhance readiness for resilient recovery, Mishra represented India's commitment to working together for a resilient future. World Environment Expo 2025 is being organized from the 4th to the 6th of June at the India Expo Center in Greater Noida in Uttar Pradesh. The event is jointly organized by the Green Society of India and Indian Exhibition Services with the support of key ministries, government departments and business organizations. The World Environment Expo 2025 brings together experts, policymakers and modern technologies from around the world on one platform. More than 20 countries, including Germany, the US and Japan, are participating in the World Environment Expo. Over 2,000 participants, including researchers, NGOs, industrialists, academic leaders and international delegates, are taking part in the event. And Speaker of the lower house of the Indian Parliament, Om Birla, met with Portuguese lawmakers, citizens and members of the Indian diaspora at the Indian Embassy in Lisbon on Wednesday. Briefing attendees on Operation Sindoor, he emphasized that India's firm stand against terrorism is now backed by advancing self-reliance in defense technology, aligning with global standards. Speaker Birla also praised the Indian community in Portugal for their outstanding contributions to the country's social and economic development, calling them a living bridge between the two nations. And later on in the day, Speaker Om Birla also led the Indian delegation to participate in the 11th BRICS Parliamentary Forum in Brasilia, Brazil. The opening ceremony was addressed by Brazil's Federal Senate President, Davi Alcolumbre. The forum will focus on the role of BRICS parliaments in global governance. Maharashtra Governor C.P. Radhakrishnan on Wednesday hosted a warm reception at Raj Bhavan in Mumbai to welcome Paraguay's President Santiago Peña Palacios, who is on his first state visit to Maharashtra. Palacios expresses deep admiration for the warm welcome. And earlier in the day, the visiting president addressed the IMC Chamber of Commerce and Industry, where he showcased Paraguay's strengths from clean energy and economic stability to its strategic location and investor-friendly climate. And President Peña also met Maharashtra Chief Minister Devendra Fadnavis. The two leaders explored opportunities for deeper economic and strategic cooperation between Paraguay and the state. And still to come on DD India Newshour. Volodymyr Zelensky calls for urgent talks with Putin and Trump, but after a deadly bridge attack, Putin casts doubt on peace negotiations. Is diplomacy slipping away? US President Trump doubles tariffs on imported steel and aluminum, jumping from 25 to 50%, but not all will bear its brunt. And strawberry season arrives early in Britain this year, thanks to a near-perfect spring with warm days and cool nights. back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Gautam Roy. Now, South Korea has ushered in a new chapter in its political history. Liberal opposition candidate Lee Jae-myung has been elected president on Wednesday, securing a victory that follows months of intense political upheaval. His win comes in the wake of former leader Yoon Suk-yeol's brief but shocking imposition of martial law, an event that ultimately led to his downfall. DD India's Rahul Upadhyay brings us more.
India has turned a dramatic page in its political history. Liberal leader Lee Jae-myung was officially sworn in as president on Wednesday.
헌법을 준수하고 국가를 보위하며
This follows a decisive victory in Tuesday's snap election. Standing before thousands of supporters outside Parliament, Lee struck a unifying tone. He vowed to pursue dialogue with North Korea and work towards peaceful coexistence on the peninsula.
I will look for dialogue and communication between South and North Korea and find a way to coexist and cooperate to find a path to shared prosperity.
Lee's inauguration marks a political sea change in Asia's fourth largest economy. His victory comes in the wake of intense public backlash against former President Yoon Suk-yeol's failed martial law attempt, which led to his downfall just 3 years into office. Across South Korea, the mood is one of cautious hope. Citizens say they are counting on Lee to deliver on promises of job creation and economic revival.
Since the results came out as most people wished, I'm looking forward to the politics and economy that will unfold in the future. With democracy alive, I hope the president will revive the economy and have consideration for underprivileged citizens and small business owners.
Wasting no time, the new president unveiled key appointments just hours after taking office. 4-term lawmaker Kim Min-seok has been tapped as Prime Minister, while former Unification Minister Lee Jong-seok will head the National Intelligence Service. Another Democratic Party ally, Kang Hoon-sik, will serve as Presidential Chief of Staff. Meanwhile, across Asia, both India and China conveyed their congratulations to South Korea's newly elected president. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi congratulated Lee Jae-myung on his victory, sharing his message on X. Prime Minister Modi expressed enthusiasm for working together with Lee to further strengthen the India-Republic of Korea Special Strategic Partnership. As President Lee begins his term, expectations are high. He takes charge of a deeply divided nation facing uncertain economic winds, but also a renewed sense of possibility. Bureau Report, DD India.
Now, Beijing has slammed U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio for his remarks on the 1989 Tiananmen Square crackdown, calling these remarks a malicious attack on China. Rubio said the world will never forget the brutal suppression of peaceful protesters as China continues efforts to erase the event from public memory. On the 36th anniversary, police tightened security around key sites in Beijing, while embassies paid tribute with symbolic candle displays. China's foreign ministry in fact lodged a strong protest, accusing the U.S. of distorting history and interfering in its internal affairs. The Federal Bureau of Investigation has arrested Yunqin Jian, a Chinese national and University of Michigan researcher, for allegedly smuggling a dangerous biological pathogen into the U.S. This fungus causes head blight, a disease affecting wheat, barley, maize and rice, leading to significant economic losses and health issues in humans and livestock. Evidence also indicates Jian had expressed loyalty to the Chinese Communist Party and had received funding from the Chinese government for similar work on this pathogen in China. Jian's boyfriend, Zunyong Lui, who works at a Chinese university researching the same pathogen, has also been charged with smuggling the fungus into the U.S. through Detroit Metropolitan Airport. Both the individuals face charges of conspiracy, smuggling, false statements and visa fraud. Now, U.S. President Donald Trump has increased tariffs on imported steel and aluminum from 25% to 50%, and it has come into effect from Wednesday. The U.S. President announced an increase in tariffs on the 30th of May, ratcheting up pressure on global steel producers and deepening his trade war. The move has marked the latest salvo in Trump's trade war, bringing levies on both metals from 25% to 50%. But tariffs on metal imports from the UK will remain at 25%, while both sides work out duties and quotas in line with the terms of their earlier trade pact. But European Union Trade Commissioner Marcos Sefcovic has expressed strong regret over the US decision to impose a 50% tariff on steel and aluminum imports, calling the move unhelpful for ongoing trade negotiations. Speaking on the sidelines of a ministerial meeting in Paris hosted by the organizers, Sefcovic said that he had agreed with US Trade Representative Jae-myung on how to restructure the focus of their trade talks.
Discussed this with the U.S. Trade Representative, Ambassador Jameson Greer, and I told him that we strongly regret this latest U.S. decision, and I explained to him that it clearly doesn't help the ongoing negotiations, especially as we are making progress. We had our short exchanges yesterday, but substantive, productive, and I have to say constructive discussion this morning. I have to say that after this discussion, we both concluded that we are advancing in the right direction.
Now, the German cabinet has approved the first tax relief package worth 46 billion euros to support companies and revive their sluggish economy. The tax relief package aims to boost investment with measures like favorable depreciation options for companies to ease their tax burden, including depreciation rates of as much as 30% per year for 3 years. Germany's anemic economy could be facing a third consecutive year of contraction for the first time in its post-war history, and reviving the economy is a key task of the new government. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky on Wednesday said that Russia has been giving Ukraine an ultimatum at peace negotiations, but said he was ready to hold direct talks with Russia's Vladimir Putin and US President Donald Trump any day. However, Putin openly questioned peace talks after blaming Ukraine for deadly bridge attack in Russia.
Is mounting on the diplomatic front. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky on Wednesday dismissed the ongoing peace talks in Istanbul, calling them senseless given the current level of delegates involved. He emphasized the need for direct talks with Russian President Vladimir Putin. In a bold new twist, Zelensky added that he's ready to meet both President Vladimir Putin and US President Donald Trump any day. A move seen as an attempt to inject urgency and higher-level diplomacy into the stalled negotiations.
We are ready for exchanges, but to continue diplomatic meetings in Istanbul on the level of people who do not take any decisions is meaningless. My proposal to Russians is a ceasefire until the leaders meet.
But Moscow remains firm. Russia has rejected Ukraine's call for an unconditional ceasefire, instead proposing a limited truce lasting 2 to 3 days in selected frontline areas.
They are asking for a summit meeting. But how can such meetings be held in these conditions? What is there to talk about? How can we negotiate with those who rely on terror?
Washington has issued a stern warning to Ukraine over its recent drone attacks on Russian military air bases, calling the moves dangerously provocative and risking escalation to, quote, unacceptable levels. The caution comes just ahead of Thursday's NATO defense ministers meeting, where leaders are expected to push for a significant boost in military spending ahead of this month's summit. On the ground, the conflict has rather intensified further on Wednesday. Ukrainian forces reportedly targeted the Crimea bridge using underwater explosives, part of an operation that Kyiv says was months in the making. Kremlin confirmed the attempted attack but claimed the bridge sustained no damage. Meanwhile, Russia's military says it has seized another village in Ukraine's northeastern Sumy region, the latest in a string of gains as Moscow pushes to establish what it calls a buffer zone along the border. More than 3 years into the conflict, peace remains elusive and both sides appear as irreconcilable as ever. With agency inputs, Tripti Tripathi for DD India.
Let's now take a look at some other stories making news around the world as well. Hundreds of people have flocked to the shores of South Africa's east coast city of Durban this week to reel in the small wriggly fish or watch those labouring with nets and crates during the annual sardine run. A new immersive art installation with fleeting and constantly changing AI-generated images of the natural world is welcoming visitors to SXSW London. The audiovisual installation, called Grounding, uses landscape imagery to train AI algorithms to create their own version of the shifting nature of land, water, air and weather. Strawberry season has arrived early in Britain this year thanks to a near-perfect spring, which blended warm days, cool nights and high sunshine levels. The favourable conditions have meant sweeter, larger and more shapely strawberries arriving early on supermarket shelves this year and lower prices for shoppers. Lucky are those who get to go to Borough Market and have strawberry and chocolate syrup. Now some weather news from back home. As the monsoon tightens its grip, the northeast region of India is facing nature's fury in its most relentless form. From swollen rivers to slipping hillsides, the region is battling a crisis that's deepening by the hour. And at the heart of the rescue missions, standing tall in the face of danger, are India's armed forces. Take a look.
Itself in the fierce embrace of the monsoon as relentless rains sweep across the land, bringing both life and devastation. What began as a much-needed relief from the summer heat has now turned ominous, triggering floods and landslides that have crippled several northeastern states. In Assam, the flood situation has taken a grave turn. Over 6.3 lakh people across 21 districts have been affected, with the death toll rising to 12. The Katakal River is now flowing above its highest flood level, and a total of 8 rivers in the state have crossed the danger mark. Authorities have set up 511 relief camps and centers to shelter the displaced. In North Sikkim, the aftermath of a devastating landslide has prompted massive search and rescue efforts by the Indian Army. Braving extreme weather and treacherous terrain, the Army continues its operations. On Wednesday, the Indian Air Force conducted an urgent evacuation mission in the remote region of Chatin, airlifting 33 stranded individuals, including 2 US nationals, to safety. Meanwhile, in Mizoram, 5 people have lost their lives. The state has recorded nearly 600 instances of landslides and landslips as relentless rains pound the region. The Long River, a vital water source for Aizawl, is heavily swollen, raising concerns of further flooding. India's Minister for Development of the Northeastern Region and Communications, Jyotiraditya Scindia, has expressed serious concern over the evolving crisis. He has spoken with the chief ministers of Assam and Sikkim, as well as the governor of Manipur, assuring them of the centre's full support in relief and recovery efforts. The India Meteorological Department has issued an orange alert for 11 states, including Assam, Punjab, Haryana, Himachal Pradesh and Uttarakhand. In the national capital Delhi, the forecast indicates mostly cloudy skies with chances of mild showers and thunderstorms. Bureau Report, DD India.
India has firmly cemented its place as a global climate leader, transforming centuries-old ecological values into bold, effective action under Prime Minister Narendra Modi's leadership over the last 11 years. Rooted in ancient wisdom from scriptures, as the Atharva Veda says, the earth is our mother and we are her children, India's environmental consciousness is now being reflected in transformative policies, robust global engagement and record-breaking clean energy growth. India's commitment to a greener future is backed by impressive results on the ground. In FY 2024-25, the country recorded its highest ever annual renewable energy capacity addition, with 29.52 gigawatts installed in just 1 year. And still to come in this edition of DD India News Hour. India is set to launch the next nationwide census, set to include caste enumeration for the first time from the 1st of March 2027. And Elon Musk, the father of tech billionaire Elon Musk, lands up in the holy Indian city of Ayodhya to explore the nation's rich culture and historical journey.
Geopolitics and trade deals. Economic challenges amid development. Hard work and the path to prosperity. It's the economy always. Between walkers, money is what money does and says. Supply creates its own demand. Between the bulls pulls and bears tears. when supply chains globalization and India rises to the podium. We'll get you centered with the economic brief at 8 p.m. every Thursday on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India Newshour. I'm Gautam Roy. Now let's talk about how Australia has backed India to the hilt where its fight against cross-border terrorism is concerned, with the visit of its Deputy Prime Minister and Defence Minister to the country and his meeting with his Indian counterpart, which is Rajnath Singh. We're joined by Ambassador C. Rajshekhar, former senior diplomat, with us to talk about it. Ambassador Rajshekhar, good evening to you. What do you make of this unequivocal support that Australia has lent to India's cause, where India has been running a global campaign really to highlight how Pakistan uses cross-border terrorism to target innocents, not only in India but in many other parts of the world?
Thank you very much. This visit is very significant. Firstly, marking the 5th anniversary of elevation of India-Australia strategic partnership to comprehensive strategic partnership. Today is the 5th anniversary. Secondly, the backdrop cannot be more appropriate when India has suffered a very unfortunate, tragic terror attack, and we are obtaining unconditional support from around the world. Here comes a friend in the form of the Australian Deputy Prime Minister, Richard Marles, and he conveys the simple, straight, clear message from the Prime Minister of Australia in his opening remarks that Australia stands firmly with India in its fight against terror. I think there cannot be anything clearer, louder than this message of solidarity, support with India in the fight against terror in all its manifestations and forms. Right. As we are sending around delegations, here comes a friend in the form of the Australian Defence Minister and Deputy Prime Minister, and also marks a great significance as our friendship, partnership in its both depth and substance grows from strength to strength.
All right. Now, I'll just ask you to stay with us because what's also happened is that External Affairs Minister Dr. Jae-myung joined the Australian Deputy PM to mark 5 years of the India-Australia Comprehensive Strategic Partnership. Now, speaking at this event, Dr. Jae-myung highlighted the enormous deepening and diversification of bilateral cooperation over the past 5 years, reflecting the growing strength of the partnership across multiple sectors.
5 years, we've really seen an enormous deepening and diversification of our cooperation. We've established the practice of annual summits. In fact, I think the last few years have seen more meetings between our prime ministers than probably we ever had in the 80 years of history.
All right, let me now come back to you, Ambassador, and just ask you, you said at this juncture it's pretty critical, but just tell us, what is the import of a country like Australia backing India's cause where countering terrorism is concerned, particularly cross-border terrorism? What kind of common cause does Australia have, and how can this support from Australia boost India's campaign?
Australia is a neighbor's neighbor. It's not immediate neighbor, but as the global strategic attention is shifting towards Pacific, Australia will continue to grow important, significant role, putting pressure on our immediate northern neighbor, because that will be the area where China would be challenged increasingly. So it's very important that we have a very strategic, understanding partner in the form of Australia.
What sort of a relationship does Australia have with China? Let's throw some light on that as well.
Yes. So initially, like all the countries, all the neighbors, including India, also tried good relations with China. Australia also tried very hard to have very good relations with China, only to be betrayed, only to understand that Australia also needs to diversify its relations and ties. And also, this is the backdrop of VUCA world, vulnerable, uncertain, ambivalent, and complex world. On top of it, President Trump's policies are pressurizing both allies and adversaries alike. So this is the context which is pushing Australia also increasingly towards looking for friends, and it's a win-win because Australia
And
also needs.
just tell us how Australia has done that if we look at the course of the last 11 years, so to speak, from 2014 onwards.
In
Do you
fact,
think that there's an
Australia.
added level of pace to the way India and Australia have taken their ties forward, not just in terms of trade, but in a strategic sense as well?
In fact, Australia had a prime minister, Mr. Kevin Rudd, who was, by all means, a great friend of China, what you call China huggers, and he speaks Chinese language, and he worked in China. He worked very hard to promote all-round relations spanning across trade, people to people, technology, defense, mineral resources, only to see that relations were strained because of Chinese conduct, making Australia realize that Australia need to have diverse relations, more in the form of a democracy like India, which can stand Australia itself in good stead. Say in foreign policy and statecraft, relations are not governed by emotions or by the moment. It is driven by a force combination of geopolitical, geoeconomic developments. In this regard, in fact, our Honorable EAM is on record to say that if we are to name one single relationship with India that has seen exponential growth, without any doubt, we can say it is Australia, because Australia matters for us not only bilaterally but also regionally, as Indo-Pacific increases in its significance in the form of a fellow Quad member, quadrilateral collaboration between Australia, Japan, India, and US, and also regionally and globally. And interestingly, Australia and India are very complementary in nature. Australia has enormous mineral, natural resources wealth, especially critical minerals, that India, as we seek to become Vikasit Bharat by the year 2047, we need more and more access, better access, reliable access to critical minerals that Australia has in abundance. And Australia needs to develop those critical minerals.
Okay.
And Australia needs market like India. So both in strategic and economic terms, it's a perfect match, what we call in foreign
Let's hope
policy,
that more
natural
opportunities come by to further strengthen ties, grow relations, and they will indeed, because India has to host the Quad Summit, the physical Quad Summit, in-person Quad Summit this year as well. Well, I'm sure the Australian leader, its Prime Minister, will be in New Delhi or whichever the venue is. I'm not sure if the venue has been decided as yet, but you will, of course, see Donald Trump there as well, along with the Japanese Prime Minister. Thank you for joining us and talking about it for the moment, Ambassador.
Thank you very much.
Now, in course of his visit to Italy, India's Minister of Commerce and Industry, Piyush Goyal, held a key meeting with Marco Nocivelli, CEO of EPTA, a global leader in commercial refrigeration, along with EPTA Managing Director Andrea Cavallé. The discussions focused on enhancing technological collaboration and investment opportunities in India's growing cold chain and retail infrastructure sectors. And earlier, the minister also met Giorgio Girondi, founder and chairperson of UFI Filters Group, a leading name in filtration technology and thermal management solutions. In a tweet, the minister shared that UFI Filters is exploring expansion plans in India and reaffirmed their commitment to Make in India initiative targeting both domestic and international markets in the automotive and industrial sectors. India's President Draupadi Murmu conferred 92 Distinguished Service decorations to the personnel of the Armed Forces, Indian Coast Guard and Border Roads Organization during the Defence Investiture Ceremony 2025. This was a Phase 2 at Rashtrapati Bhavan in New Delhi this evening. Now, these decorations, 30 Param Vashisht Seva Medals, that's PVSMs, 5 Uttam Yudh Seva Medals or UYSMs and 57 Ati Vishisht Seva Medals, that's AVSMs, have been given to the personnel for distinguished service of exceptional order. Along the dignitaries present on the occasion were Vice President of India and Defence Minister Rajnath Singh. The Home Ministry has announced on Wednesday that a population census along with the enumeration of castes will be conducted in 2 phases, and the reference date of the people's head count will be 12 a.m. on the 1st of March 2027. For the Union Territory of Ladakh and the non-synchronous snowbound areas of the UT of Jammu and Kashmir and states of Himachal Pradesh and Uttarakhand, the reference date will be 12 a.m. of the first day of October 2026. This will be India's first census in more than 15 years. The last exercise was conducted in 2011. India's Parliamentary Affairs Minister Kiren Rijiju on Wednesday announced that the monsoon session of the Parliament will commence on the 21st of July and run through till the 12th of August. Both the Houses of Parliament are scheduled to convene on the 21st of July at 11 a.m. Indian Standard Time after a break of over 3 months. Elon Musk, the father of billionaire entrepreneur Elon Musk, arrived in the Indian holy city of Ayodhya on Wednesday. His arrival marked a significant moment as he embarks on a journey to explore the country's rich cultural and historical legacy. During his visit, he offered prayers at the Hanumangadi temple, one of Ayodhya's most revered religious sites. Now the question is if this visit was written in the stars via Starlink or Tesla. And still to come on DD India Newshour. The spin-off movie from the successful John Wick franchise Ballerina premieres in Hollywood.
Welcome to DD India, where a billion voices unite, connecting viewers to the stories that matter. India is not just another news channel. It's the international channel that puts the spotlight on the global south, bringing you stories from the heart of emerging economies, dynamic cultures and transformative voices. As the international news channel of India's public broadcaster Prasar Bharati, DD India delivers high-quality content from every corner of the globe, focusing on the stories that shape our future. We don't just report news. We connect you to India's voice in the global narrative. From current affairs to culture, from economic growth to sustainable development and the ever-evolving world order, DD India gives you a comprehensive view of the world around us. Stay connected, stay informed, and embrace the stories that shape our lives. DD India, India's voice to the world.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India Newshour. I'm Gautam Roy. Now it's time to get you some sporting updates. Well, RCB lifted their maiden title in the world's biggest T20 league by getting the better of PBKS by 6 runs in an exciting summit showdown on Tuesday, ending a long wait of 18 years for the team as well as its talismanic batsman Virat Kohli. No longer will Virat Kohli remain a king without the crown. He had a title to show after 17 years of perspiration. Indeed, it was as much as Virat Kohli's night as was for the RCB.
Royal challengers Bengaluru secured their maiden Indian Premier League title on Tuesday night, beating Punjab Kings by 6 runs in the final in Ahmedabad. From being a 3-time runner-up to claiming the IPL trophy, RCB has finally scaled the peak. Bengaluru seemed to have dropped the ball by making 190 for 9, but more than made up for it with an excellent bowling performance as they defended 189 runs. Krunal Pandya came into attack in the 7th over, and the left-arm spinner tied the batters in knots by keeping an exceptional length as he dismissed Josh Inglis and Prabsimran Singh. The owner of a dazzling array of titles and milestones, Virat Kohli has finally added that one highlight missing in the list. Virat shared an emotional hug with former RCB player AB de Villiers. The duo were RCB's mainstay for 11 years before AB de Villiers announced his retirement in 2021. Their reunion before and after the game left many fans emotional. De Villiers and Kohli formed the IPL's most prolific duo, posting 500-plus partnerships and 2 200-plus partnerships, including a record 229 run stand against Gujarat Lions in 2016. 17 editions of yearning and heartbreak turned into pure joy for the massive RCB fan base as they gathered outside the Narendra Modi Stadium.
Finally, we got the cup. The cup has arrived to this one. This is the King Kohli Academy. RCB!
In fact, not just in Ahmedabad, but fans all across India were extremely emotional as they witnessed their favourites lift a maiden IPL trophy. For Virat Kohli, it was a tryst with destiny, having stayed with the franchisee for 18 long years since IPL's inception. And the stars aligned to give their star his greatest moment in IPL history. Sports Desk, DD India.
Now, the grand felicitation ceremony for the winners of the IPL 2025 Royal Challengers Bengaluru turned tragic on Wednesday. Overcrowding at the Chinnaswamy Stadium in Karnataka led to a stampede, killing 11 people and injuring 47 so far, with the toll continuing to rise. Over 200,000 fans gathered at the 35,000 capacity stadium. Chaos broke out even before the event began, with crowds surging at the entry gates. The Karnataka government has announced a compensation of 10 lakh rupees for each deceased's family and free treatment for all injured, including in private hospitals. Karnataka government will also hold a thorough probe into the causes of the tragedy. President of India, Draupadi Murmu, has condoled the loss of lives at the deadly stampede in Bengaluru. In a social media post on X, the president said, and I quote, "The loss of lives in the tragic happening at a stadium in Bengaluru is shocking and heartbreaking. My condolences to the bereaved families and prayers for the speedy recovery of those injured." Prime Minister Modi has also expressed condolences over the deaths of people in the Bengaluru stampede during RCB's victory celebrations. Taking to X again, the Prime Minister said, and I quote again, "The mishap in Bengaluru is absolutely heartrending. In this tragic hour, my thoughts are with all those who have lost their loved ones. I pray that those who are injured have a speedy recovery." End quote. Karnataka Governor Thawarchand Gehlot also expressed his condolences. He took to social media platform X and wrote, and I quote again, "Deeply saddened by the tragic loss of lives outside M. Chinnaswamy Stadium during the celebrations of RCB's RPL victory. My heartfelt condolences to the bereaved families, praying for the speedy recovery of those injured. I urge the government to thoroughly investigate the lapses that led to the tragic incident outside M. Chinnaswamy Stadium and ensure suitable compensation and support for the families of the deceased. Such incidents must not be repeated." Now on to French Open updates as well. That is underway. Coco Gauff has secured a spot in the semi-finals with a victory against fellow American Madison Keys. Both the players would like to forget the game as they broke the 100 unforced errors barrier. The 21-year-old Gauff will face France's Louis Boisson for a place in Sunday's final. Prasar defeated Russian 6th seed Mira Andreeva, a big kill there as well, to advance to the semi-finals. The spiritual journey of a lifetime, Hajj 2025, is approached with millions of Muslim pilgrims preparing to converge in the holy cities of Saudi Arabia. But even as the faithfuls gear up for the sacred rituals, concerns loom over the intense summer heat and safety precautions. This year, Saudi authorities have rolled out a comprehensive 15-point preparedness plan as the day of Arafat falls on the 5th of June, followed by Eid al-Adha on the 6th. Take a look at this report.
The annual Islamic pilgrimage of Hajj 2025 begins on June 4th, drawing millions of Muslims from across the globe to the holy sites of Makkah and Medina. However, rising temperatures have brought growing concern. Last year's pilgrimage saw temperatures touch 51.8 degrees Celsius, resulting in over 13,000 fatalities. This year too, the Saudi National Center for Meteorology has warned of extremely hot conditions with daytime highs expected between 40 to 47 degrees Celsius. To ensure safety and smooth operations, the Saudi government has unveiled a massive 15-point action plan, a testament to its commitment under Vision 2030. The No Hajj Without Permit campaign remains central to crowd control and pilgrim safety. Over 25,000 mosques have been prepared with 2.5 million Qurans and over 1.3 million digital iCards issued. In a show-off community effort, more than 25,000 volunteers will serve during Hajj 2025. Water infrastructure has been scaled up. Saudi Arabia is also leveraging AI and digital infrastructure for crowd management. Over 5,000 towers, 9,000 plus 5G and 4G stations, and 10,000 plus Wi-Fi hotspots are operational across the region. The Hajj Media Forum has returned to its second edition, hosting over 5,000 media professionals across 6,000 square meters, providing real-time updates and international coverage. More than 1.4 million Nusuk cards, integrated pilgrim passes, have been issued, with over 100 services now available via the app. Saudi Arabia has also prioritized emergency infrastructure, a new hospital in Mina, along with 3 field hospitals, 900 ambulances, 71 emergency points, and 11 medical aircrafts are ready for deployment. Saudi authorities are urging pilgrims to stay hydrated, avoid prolonged sun exposure, and immediately seek medical help if needed. As faith and fervor take center stage in the world's largest annual religious gathering, Hajj 2025 also showcases how tradition is meeting technology, with meticulous planning, digital integration, and humanitarian foresight, all aimed at ensuring a safer, smoother pilgrimage. Kriti Vadhera's report for DD India.
Now, the spin-off movie from the successful John Wick franchise, Ballerina, had its Hollywood premiere on Tuesday. The film stars Cuban-Spanish actor Ana de Armas, who plays a ballerina turned assassin seeking revenge for her father's murder. Keanu Reeves, who starred opposite Ana de Armas in her first English-speaking role, the 2015 horror flick Knock Knock, returns as the reluctant assassin John Wick. De Armas said it's exciting to explore the story from a different perspective and to play a character who is discovering herself through the film. The movie, officially titled From the World of John Wick, Ballerina, opens in American theaters on Friday.
I'm a big fan of the John Wick franchise, all the movies and what Keanu and Chad created and this world that we all love so much, and just felt very organic to, like you said, to bring this female voice into the universe, and it just is really cool to discover the world from a different point of view, to like have this origin story, like this character that it's kind of like finding herself throughout the film, and like yeah, it's really good.
Well, yeah, there are multiple many fans, millions of fans of Keanu Reeves, but I think Ana de Armas also has her own set of fan following building up throughout the world as well, and this is a film to look forward to for many of the action movie buffs. Now that's all for this edition of DD India Newshour, but let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. And for those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on DD India's mobile app. It's available on both Android and iOS platforms. Just scan the QR code on the screen to download the app now. And we'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Gautam Roy, and from all of us here in Delhi, thanks for watching DD India Newshour.